Welcome, listeners and viewers, to the Indie Marketers Podcast. I'm your host, Charmin Kent, founder and principal of Session Player Consulting. Our podcast brings together indie-based marketers and to create a community, elevate local talent, and share experiences. Today, we're talking to author, CEO, educator, and content marketing expert, Andi Robinson. Andi's currently leading hijinks marketing and working with national and global clients in a wide range of industries. She's also the author of The Content Puzzle and the Missing Piece, and that book is a starting point for folks who want to begin their journeys in understanding and developing content marketing strategies. Thank you, Andi, so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Hi, Charmin.
Hi, Andi. Andi and I go way back.
Me too.
Way back. All right, let's jump right in. Tell us about your journey in content marketing. Like, what drew you to content marketing, and what has your career path looked like?
I have a very odd career path, and many people have heard me tell this story. My undergraduate degree is actually in juvenile justice. I was a juvenile probation officer in Marion County, and I was a social worker in Marion and the surrounding counties. And then life happened. I was planning on going to law school. I took my LSAT. I was like right on the verge of applying to all the law schools and decided to start a family. And when I went back into the workforce, I got a job working at Eli Lilly in their product communications area. And that team works very closely with their marketers. And I really just fell in love with marketing. So I went back to school and I got my MBA with a concentration in marketing. And kind of the rest is history. I've had roles in business development for law firms. So I've worked at several law firms, which kind of, bleeds into my love for the law, which I know is very antithetical to marketing in some ways, but it's very, very opposite, I should say. But I have done, business development for law firms. I've also worked at Corteva AgriScience and a couple of other smaller companies. When it comes to content marketing, to me, it's very much like puzzle pieces, which is, we'll talk about the title of my book and how that fits in a few minutes. But to me, content marketing really is a way to provide value above and beyond just selling your product. I think over the past 10 years or so, people have really pushed back against the traditional selling methods of, a lot of glitz and glam around, here's all my products and you need them, and, kind of not keeping that customer in the center. And so I think that's what content marketing does, is it fills that gap for marketers who are looking for a little bit more than just traditional selling.
Got it. That is quite a path. And as you mentioned, you've worked for a little bit of everything, a very wide range of clients. What are some of the common lessons that you've learned across all of these roles that you've had?
I think one of the things that I've learned is that when you're dealing with your leaders in your organization is to give them just the facts. I think as marketers, we have a tendency to kind of want to put all of the data in there when you're trying to make an argument for something, whether it be resources or a new marketing campaign, trying to convince leaders to do anything. And I've learned to really dial back a little bit on the amount of information and make the information that you're giving them very impactful, data points that they can use to make decisions. And then I would say the other thing that I've learned is not to sell yourself short, kind of fake it till you make it. I think oftentimes people look at a situation, they're like, oh, I can't do that. I don't have that knowledge. We live in a time where knowledge is everywhere. You can go find the knowledge and you can learn how to do something and step up and take control and do it in a way that maybe is unique to you without, saying, oh, I can't. I think can't shouldn't be in our vocabulary.
Love that. You've been in Indy for a while, and if I'm not mistaken, you're a transplant, yes?
Somewhat, yeah.
Okay.
I was born in Western New York. I've lived in Indy most of my life.
Okay. Tell me more about what are the best elements about building a marketing career here in
I
Indy?
think Indy is just the right size for marketers to grow and thrive. You know, we have several big companies here in central Indiana, but we also have smaller companies. We have startups. We have a lot of different range of companies. Not everybody is meant for big corporate life. Not everybody is built for startup life. So you have the opportunity to look at a variety of different organizations and pick where you fit. It's also small enough where you can get to know other marketers. Like you said at the beginning, we have known each other for many, many years, and there are other people in the marketing circles that we have, known for a very long time. So when you get involved in all of the great marketing organizations here, whether it be AMA or Indy Marketers, PRSA, AAF, there are so many chapters here of different national organizations. When you get involved, you get to know other marketers, and everyone is just very welcoming and ready to help, and lend a hand, ask questions of all of those things. So I think Indy's kind of just that perfect size for marketers, and people in our field.
Love it. So tell me, I'm super excited about learning more about your book. Full disclosure, I have not read it yet, but it is on my list. So give us more info about the book. What inspired you to write it? And what's the big idea? What's the big takeaway you want readers to have?
I have always wanted to write a book. I actually started about 10 years ago writing a young adult novel, which I have since re-picked up. But again, back then, life was very hectic. My kids were younger and in sports, and I was working a lot. So, there was just wasn't the right time. A couple of years ago, it was, I think, during the pandemic, I looked around at my peers in the content marketing industry, and I said, oh gosh, there's so many, people who I would call friends and colleagues who have written books. I'm like, I can do this. I know stuff. So I decided to sit down and write a book. And the first half of it is about all of the pieces that are needed to put your content strategy together. So everything from your branding and research and identifying the channels that you need to or should use, different content formats, budget, all of those things. The second half of the book is all about the psychology of your audience. And I think that's the missing piece. My undergraduate degree, like I said, was in juvenile justice. A third of that was around psychology. So I took a lot of psychology courses. And to me, that's a really interesting part of marketing that we don't often talk about is, things like the psychology of fonts. How do you know what fonts to choose? And how does that play into the psyche of your audience? Or colors. How does color play into the messaging that you're trying to get out? How does the personality type of your audience play into that? So that's the kind of the second half of the book. So really the big idea is to dig deeper with your audience and not just kind of look at that surface level data.
That's amazing. And a lot of knowledge to put together, excuse me, a lot of knowledge to put together into a single book. Speaking of knowledge, you have joined the faculty of Butler University's Lacey School of Business, and you're teaching marketing management and research methods. We've both taught marketing, and marketing changes, digital marketing changes, it feels like constantly. So give us a taste of what you're sharing with students in your classes.
We talk a lot about keeping the customer at the center of our marketing efforts. We talk a lot about how to get data on customers. I think that can be a challenge for new marketers, is it can be so overwhelming. Like, how do you even go out and find the information that you need to create a successful marketing campaign? We also talk about why companies make the marketing decisions that they do. At the beginning of every class, I have something called Marketing in the Wild. And I ask my students, I say, okay, what marketing did you see out in the wild this week? And then we talk about why that company decided to embark on that marketing effort or why they did what they did. So that's something that I try to bring, active marketing efforts into my classroom, which can be a challenge. In marketing, like you said, a lot of these textbooks that we're working from are a couple years old. So, I try to bring in real life case studies into everything that I do, whatever the topic is on any given week.
That's very important and very savvy. As you said, marketing changes all the time, and forcing students or encouraging students to find marketing in the world helps them to connect what they're learning with what they're seeing. So that's way to go, Prof. What should marketers here in Indy do to strengthen their communities in Indy?
I would say, connect with small businesses. There are so many awesome small businesses in Indy and the surrounding communities. And I think we as marketers can really help them, build their presence in the area and get involved in different organizations that these businesses are in. I just did a talk the other day to the Home Artisans of Indiana group, and it's all folks who work in the home, fields related to the home, so landscapers and interior designers and things like that. And I gave them ideas on how they could use content marketing in their small business. And we talked a little bit about how they can use AI. So doing things like that, I think really, allow us to get involved in our community and make it even better.
Great. Final question. I know you're a writer. You're also a reader and perhaps a listener if you love podcasts. So what are you reading and or listening to right now for motivation and inspiration?
So professionally, it's maybe unusual, but LinkedIn. I don't know if it's because the job market is so tough right now, particularly in our field. I know so many people who have lost their jobs recently. There are a lot of people out there posting great motivational content, offering to help, tips and tricks to increase your skills in a certain area if you're looking for a new job. So I think that's one area where I see a lot of content that's really kind of motivating and it's inspirational. Creative Ladder, I don't know if you've heard of it. It's an organization that was co-founded by Ryan Reynolds, the actor, to bring or to help diverse groups of individuals in the creative field with their careers. And they have a lot of great events, webinars and things like that around creativity. And they do a lot to showcase diverse individuals in the creative space. Then personally, probably CNN has this great new newsletter called Good Stuff, and it's just good news. And it's nice to, that's one that I open pretty frequently because with all of the crazy news that's going on in the world right now, it's nice just to hear good stuff. So those are a couple of things that I'm reading. I'm not a huge podcast person. I keep trying to get into it, but I'm not quite there yet. But there are several podcasts that that I do. Borshoff has a great podcast that I listen to frequently. This Old Marketing by Joe Polizzi and Robert Rose is another good one that has a lot of great content in it. So that's probably what I'm listening and reading.
Good deal. Interesting that you say you don't love podcasts, but you're on a podcast.
When I'm in the car, I want to listen to music because I just want to zone out.
Yes. Yes, absolutely fair. Well, that's the end of our questions. Andi, thank you so much for joining us on the Indy Marketers podcast. Where can people find you online?
So across pretty much every social network, I'm at Hijinks Marketing, HIJINX Marketing. And obviously I'm on LinkedIn as myself. Feel free to connect. If you heard me here, let me know that's where you heard me so I know. And that's where I'm at everywhere.
Well, thanks again. Listeners and watchers, again, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.